Hello everyone, we're back, part 17. I've got a little more on Aquino that didn't fit in that video. My leg did fall asleep in the middle of this, so now we're in uncomfortable positions. But I want to talk about some things Aquino did separate of the work of the Temple Set. Aquino came to LaVey in the Church of Satan when he was in Vietnam. Now, what was Aquino doing in Vietnam that has always felt like it's very... It gives me the ick that he founded something. Aquino was the veteran head of psychological warfare during Vietnam and was actively boots on the ground. He was involved in that when he came into the Church of Satan. Now, when he left and he was doing the Temple of Set and all of that, outside of it, he co-authored a paper for the U.S. Army called From PSYOP to Mind War. In this paper, he advocated for aggressive psychological operations doctrine. It was later circulated. Its later circulation fueled a lot of controversy around him, and by extension, the Temple of Set. What it talked about was that before we even start firing bullets, we need to make sure that we have convinced our entire country that this war is just, it is, proper, we are going to win it, and where leaflets and megaphones were kind of used on the outskirts of battle prior to this, that we need to actually move those in and be central, not only on the middle of the battlefield, but in the middle of the big cities. You can go look that whole document up. It is still available, From PSYOP to Mind War. Critics read this as a very Orwellian blueprint for state propaganda, including the idea of domestic opinion shaping. Supporters of it even cite it as an early statement of the doctrine of information dominance. Decades later, Army discussions of psychological operations and influence operations will reference mind war as a model, though it was never adopted as formal doctrine. Aquino was a major. He was highly decorated for his work within psychological operations during the 70s. This is what leads to the Presidiera thing, is he set up daycare centers in the 70s for the children of military families. On, I believe, 3 occasions, it might have been 2, there were allegations of abuse within these daycare centers. None of these allegations ever made it to court, with, as I stated before, prosecutors publicly refusing to prosecute this. This was in the time of the Satanic Panic, so whether anything occurred or this was hysteria, we'll never really know. But San Francisco Police Department did search Aquino's home during the wider Presidio daycare probe. Months later, San Francisco prosecutors declined to file charges. They did cite that it was insufficient evidence. A California appellate ruling in People v. Superior Court, Aquino notes that no criminal charges had been brought and discusses the return of property fight that ended up spinning out. Aquino. So, what happened here? What happened with the Temple of Set and what happened with Aquino? Aquino, Vietnam vet, gets involved with the Church of Satan, breaks off, Win LaVey, monetizes it. Says that he does a Midsummer thing, says he channels Set. Set is actually Satan, though we've discussed the conflation there. Makes this whole blueprint for self-apotheosis, throws any sort of ego dissolution out the window, firmly stomps on the grave of Arthur Avalon, becomes and wraps themselves in everything that Fortune and Crowley wrote against. Blavatsky's not even brought into the table at this, other than her definitions of it, and all this is brought in. The through line, we hit the Temple of Set, we hit some misinformation, we hit a man who is very good at getting the public to view him favorably and his ideas favorably, military training with it. He sets up the Temple of Set. The Temple of Set is still running. In fact, I believe it's seeing a boom in membership nowadays. He deals with some stuff on the side, ends up in a 1940s German National Socialist Council, in which he does a ritual to summon Satan. That's all discussed in the occult documentary. And things kind of just hit this vibe for a while. We are going to be stepping into the 1980s in this next one. And the next thing, I know I said this wasn't going to be 10 minutes, but we keep rambling on, and there's a lot to cover. Our next step here is going to be Stephen Flowers. That video will not come out tomorrow night. That video will not come out tomorrow night because there is a lot I need to cover. I need to figure out what bite-sized pieces to put into it. And I need to figure out how I am going to approach the 1980s onward. With some of these people still very big names, some of the people as we get closer to 2000 still alive. There is a lot to cover, and not all of it is good. I'm going to continue this series, but I may take a couple days off of this. It weighs heavy on me to have to dig a lot of this up. Things that are in the back of my mind that I need to bring to the forefront and give in a way for y'all to understand and to see its through line. I'm hoping that at this point, at part 17, we are starting to see some of the things I said I want to put forward here, where anybody could grab this claim, where the chronological timeline of this is, where people can see it influences their practice now, and where we can go moving forward if this term is to continue to be used, what we can do with our next trajectory so we don't end up with the bad, because the bad is bad. And again, I am not sitting here trying to attack anybody's beliefs. I'm not trying to say you're wrong, you're evil for doing this. There is people who use this path to perpetrate bad and evil. I am not calling anybody watching this bad and evil. I'm making no judgment claims in any of this video, other than Aquino gives me the ick. That is the only judgment claim I'll make, and that's a personal me thing. None of this is an attack. I hope you all have a wonderful night. If I do the video tomorrow, it's very unlikely, but I am going to continue to do my best to keep this as unbiased as I can. If any of you feel I have been veering towards a bias, please let me know so I can course correct, because I have a lot of emotions on this thing personally, and I'm trying to not slip those into these videos, so please let me know if there is one coming through. I am going to sleep. May your ancestors bring you the sweetest of portents, and may your dreams all be peaceful tonight. Xiao Mu.